All right, as usual, I'm almost prepared to do this in one take. It's 2026 and I'm a professional. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Sam Haymart and this is Kitchen Table Talk, episode 40 for Sunday, January 4th, 2026. This is our first episode of the new year. And you might have heard at the outset, I'm talking about doing this in one take. I always do this in one take and I edit where I need to take the and, us, and all of the misspeaks out that I do, because I do that a lot. And if you've been with us for a while, or if this is your first episode, I always like to start out by simply explaining that Kitchen Table is where I check in once a week with you, my listeners and viewers, and we talk about what's going on at my kitchen table, as well as the LGBTQ plus fishbowl that I find myself in here in Phoenix, Arizona. So, 2025 is over. Thank God. But guess what? We have another year of the Red Hat Shit Show ahead of us. The Great Red Hat Shit Show, as I call it. So, let's just get on with our episode, because we're going to be talking about that. We always like to start with our daily meme, which is from our social media channels, the major four food groups, which is Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. We don't do the X because, well, we just don't. If you know, you know. The daily meme is something that we put up every single day, in addition to pictures and other things that I think about on our social media channels, Growing Older Gay. And today's is actually a quote from our friend Pete Buttigieg, and it simply goes like this: hope is the consequence of action more than its cause. Let me say that again with a better intonation. Hope is the consequence of action more than its cause. What he's saying there is hope is what you get when you take action, or you see action, or action is happening. Hope doesn't necessarily cause these things to happen. It is the result. And that is something that we're going to be talking about going into 2026, because having spent the entire year watching this unfolding of just terrible events, the deconstruction of our modern era as we know it, the plundering of the rights and the quality of life, the services, the parts and pieces of our democracy that serve so many people out there, not just the LGBTQ plus community, not just the underserved, not just minority groups, not just people that are in need, but ultimately everybody. They're hurting themselves in a lot of ways. We've been watching this. Going into last year, we didn't necessarily know how bad this was going to get. And we've got a pretty good idea now. And we've got a pretty good opportunity to stop what's happening, put the brakes on it, and begin to turn the tide back in the direction of goodness. To do that, all of us need to get involved locally, not only against some of the national stuff that's going on out there, but we need to be a part of what's happening on our local level. There are a lot of states out there that are doing some pretty kinky things to undo the rights and the well-being of the LGBTQ plus community, in addition to minority communities above and beyond that. We need to get involved at the local level and make sure that our legislators, the people that we elect on the local level, in addition to those who are going to Washington, are the right ones. We have to do that. This is our year to change the tide, and that is the biggest tool that we have, is going to the polls and electing the right people. But it's not just that. It's going out and it's door knocking. It's getting involved in the local level to help elect people. And that is the other bullet point here, is we need to elect Democrats. I hate to be a partisan hack, but where we are right now, we have seen that there isn't a single Republican on earth that can be trusted with power. The bottom line is the only way that we are going to turn the tide on the national level is to check the power of the administration in the White House with a Congress that has a majority of Democratic control. Hope is the consequence of action more than its cause. 26 is the year that we have to take action, and we've seen 25, we know what it looks like, and we know what 26, 27, and 28 are going to look like if we don't do something. So be an advocate, lead by example, fucking take action. That is what we need to do this year. So moving on, there are a number of states in particular where the legislatures and governors are hell-bent to take advantage of their majorities and their perceived permission structure from the folks to attack LGBTQ plus rights, healthcare, and other social safety net programs. The LGBTQ plus Legislative Research Group is an independent group of LGBTQ plus researchers, journalists, and activists that have assembled a live tracker that shows all of the legislation happening in these local state houses that is affecting LGBTQ plus rights, healthcare, anything that's a negative or even a positive. There's both good and bad, but this tracker shows you where they are in the process, and you can get full information to not only keep an eye on these things in your local states, but to be able to take action against them. You know when they're coming up for debate, you know when they're coming up for a vote, you know where they're at in the process. You can go to their website to get the full information and links to their trackers, which are just full of great information. I do want to say thank you to the group of people who are putting this together. It's very much appreciated that somebody is gathering this information. It's hard work, and especially to keep it live and to keep it active and to keep it current so that we know what's happening. It's very much appreciated. It's also incumbent upon us to use that information. Their website's on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, and can be found in the show notes wherever else you might be listening. Follow them on social media as well. That way you get prompts in your local social media. That's how I found them myself. Next on the list of things for us to talk to on a health topic is the HPV vaccine. That's a very important consideration for many of us in the gay community. And I'm leaning towards gay men here in this conversation. For those of us who are sexually active, regardless of our sexual identity, the human papillomavirus, HPV, is not only very common, but can present significant health risks for us. HPV is known for being the primary cause of genital warts and several types of cancer, including cervical, anal, vulvar, vaginal, penile, and throat cancer. That's been in the news quite a bit. And it's very, very common. Nearly 80% of men and women get HPV at some point in our lives. We all do. I've had it. It's come and gone. And we mainly get it through physical, intimate contact. For men having sex with men, HPV presents an elevated risk because of the nature and the mechanism of our sexual contact. If you've ever had male-to-male sex, you know that there's a lot of push and pull and friction and all of those things, and that is how HPV gets spread, is through that virus being able to enter mucosal membranes and being able to get into skin that's been roughed up, so to speak. That is a little bit graphic, isn't it? I'm making the point that it is something that gay men who have sex with men have a higher risk of. And if you have HIV and perhaps you have multiple sex partners on the regular, you're even at a higher risk. The good news is that there is an available vaccine out there that we can get. It's highly effective too at preventing HPV as well as many of the cancers that can come from that. And unlike when I was young, today it's quite routine for teenagers, kids, and young people to be given this vaccine automatically. It's paid for by healthcare. Most of us, however, that are over 30 years old did not get it as a matter of course, the way it's happening now in the medical field. If you're between 13 and 26 and haven't been vaccinated, there are 2 to 3 doses that you can get. It's usually covered by health insurance, and the same for people that are 27 to 45. If you have not gotten it yet, have a talk with your doctor, see if you're eligible to get it. Up to age 45, most health insurance will cover that vaccine, and according to the CDC, it is still recommended. If you're over 45, it's generally not recommended. And this is because most of us over 45 at some point in our lives have been exposed to it already. It's very similar to how they look at taking the vaccine for pox. If you've already had it, maybe not necessary, maybe it's not going to be effective. But if you are over 45 and you are highly active sexually, especially if you're a man having sex with men, have a talk with your doctor about it. I did that myself. My doctor said, sure, you can take it. The catch is, because insurance in most cases does not cover it over age 45, it's pretty expensive. It can cost between $200 and $400 per dose. And if you're over 45, generally speaking, they want you to have 3 doses over a 6-month period to make that vaccine fully effective. So that can be $600 to $1,200 depending on how and where you get it. I've seen through like a Good RX card prices as low as $169 at a major chain pharmacy out there where you can just walk right in and get it. So it's an expensive investment, I guess is the catch. And if somebody told you that this is, 80 or 90% effective at preventing you from getting, cancers of the parts, it's probably worth it. And I hope to do it myself. I haven't been able to do it yet because, $1,000 is something that's easy to reasonably come up with if your car breaks and you have to go get it fixed. But gee, I just want to protect myself against something, and I'm not sure if it's going to be effective. It becomes a harder argument to make. But in 2 to 3 years, if I were to be diagnosed with some kind of a potentially fatal cancer that could have been prevented by this, and I look back on now and I thought, well, if my car broke, I'd spend the money, but I'm not sure if I should spend the money on myself and my potential future health. So that's kind of where I am. It's a hard thing to get your hand around if $1,000 is a lot of money to you, which it is to me. But there are people out there that can afford this quite easily, and it's certainly worth a look. It's certainly worth a look. So HPV vaccine, if you're a gay man who has sex with men, if you're under 45, go get it while you can. It's free. Go get it. If you don't have insurance and you're under 45, there are a lot of programs out there that can help you get that for less money. So it's very similar to some of the other medications that are available to us. There are programs out there that can help plug you into that, even if you don't have full health insurance. And the last thing I want to talk about today is fun stuff. I always like to end with fun, and this is an event coming up. In this case, it's actually one close to me. It's the Tucson Latino Pride Festival. It's coming up pretty quick, Saturday, March 7th, 2026. This is their second annual event, Latino Pride. And so they're gearing up for this, and it's going to be at the MSA Annex near downtown Tucson, 267 South Avenida del Convento. The celebration from 2 to 10 p.m. includes entertainment, vendor booths, community outreach organizations, and a lot of fun. It just really looks like a ball, and I think I'm planning on going down there myself. From Phoenix, it's only about a 2-hour drive. And you can get full information on the event and how to get tickets, which are now on sale, at their website, lpfaz.com. And that is on the screen if you're watching YouTube, and it's in the show notes on any of the other podcast formats. And as always, you can scan our nationwide events calendar on our website, growingoldergay.com. Then click on the events tab and you'll see a full calendar of all the upcoming events that are coming throughout the year. And I'm always adding new events to this. I look a lot of events up, the big ones that I have bookmarked, and we put those in there. And so those are pre-populated, a lot of the big ones. But if you have a local event, even a regional one that you would like to see featured on the calendar, or even one that I talk about here on our podcast, send me an email with all of the details at sam@growingoldergay.com. sam@growingoldergay.com. That is so easy to remember. Just drop me a line, and we would love to hear from you. And so you can find just about everything on our website, growingoldergay.com, including copies of this podcast, as well as stories and other content that we put together. You can follow us on social media, which is the major 4 food groups: Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. We don't do the X, and I've said that before because it's run by a bunch of Looney Tune people that really ought to be in that movie. What was the movie? They were tunes. Oh, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I'm getting old. I'm forgetting these things. I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way, right? You can find this show every week on YouTube, as well as all of the big places where you find your podcasts, specifically Spotify, Substack, and Apple Podcasts. We will be expanding that throughout the year to a couple other platforms. But in the meantime, you can find them in those major spots. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube right now, you can see me in my brown leather bar vest, which I actually made this one. Normally I wear a Mr. S leather or one of my other vests, and I like to tell people where they can find these things. But this one here, I actually made this myself so that I had a vest so that it would match my brown suede hat, my cowboy hat. So it's kind of a cowboy western Southwest look. I bought a nice piece of suede brown leather, and I used my Mr. S leather Berlin bar vest as a pattern to make this. It's got a beautiful Arizona flag on the back that is made out of multicolored pieces of leather to match the flag. And I really had a good time with it, learning how to sew is something that I did some time ago. Learning how to sew leather took a little bit of extra work, and a good sewing machine, which I have right next to me in my sewing room, that has enabled me to actually make things like this. And it's a lot of fun to make some clothes and wear them. And we'll talk about that more in some future episodes, doing some crafting things and extras. But I've been getting a lot of people that have been asking about what I wear each week when they're watching us on YouTube. And so there you go. I got my leather Stetson and my leather bar vest that I made. I can't plug a brand on this one. So if you're watching us on YouTube, right next to me on my left, you'll see our latest episode right there. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel right there on the big round circle. If you're on a podcast platform, please subscribe and rate us highly. Either way, stay tuned.